So, welcome to Become the Change. My name is Sandy Lebeck. I'm joined here by my teammate Lisa Lotta Karlsson in Sweden.
Hi, hi, with all bad habits.
Lisa Lotta said to me quite hilariously before the hangout, "I have a lot of bad habits. Is it okay for me to come on?" And I said, "Yes, you can, because don't worry." In my head, I was thinking, "We all do." So, you're not the you're not the exception.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and welcome to everyone watching and catching the recording of this. This is a Become the Change Festival, just to introduce you to this show. It's a weekly show designed to help you become more of the change you wish to see in the world. So whether that's, more kindness you want to see, or more people happy, or more young people growing up, feeling excited about becoming an adult, not like kind of like, oh no, I have to get a job, and whatever changes you would like to see. Perhaps it's the environment or animals. This show is dedicated to helping you do that. So today's topic is actually inspired by a book I read recently, and just in case you don't know who I am, my name's Sandy, and I used to be an activist and a campaigner in London, working for women's rights and against poverty. I stopped all of that after getting very ill and realizing that I was always, angry and shouting about stuff, which sometimes people say that I can't imagine that ever happening. And I say, well, you didn't know me. um, when you're passionate about things, even if you're passionate about problems, you get passionate. So, so today's topic is about how to become more aware of habits that you have, so that you can change them. And I love this topic because the word habit used to make me want to go to sleep, and maybe you can relate to this. And maybe you can too, Lisa Lotta. Like, I just thought that was such a boring thing. Why would I want to have any habits or even think about it? It's just like, that's just what we do. But the thing is that our brains create so many habits for us every single day that we don't even know, that when you start noticing them, you can change and adapt them so that they work for you instead of working against you. Because if you have a target, to get to somewhere, like an athlete, so amazing examples of how to use habits to move fast in whatever you're doing, because they have all kinds of habits that set them up in their day for their training, for their mental preparation, for their physical body and its health, for their energy levels. They do all these habits so that they're like a peak machine, and we can all do that. But many of us kind of just leave things to chance. So becoming aware of your habits doesn't mean that you just, you live on autopilot, which is what I used to think it meant. It just means that you become like this powerful superhero that can create new habits when you need them and get rid of the older ones. So, so basically, the book that we're going to be sharing from is called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. You can get it on the internet, on Amazon. It was a bestseller. It's such a brilliant book. And I just want to share a quick example of how you can change your habits to change your life and change the world. Because I actually started making daily videos in 2013. I'd made a few videos before then, but I hadn't made one every single day. And when you haven't made a video before, it's a big deal. It's quite scary, and there's a lot of technical things to do. And so I was, I was given a challenge to do a video every day for 30 days. And so I started to make the videos, and I remember thinking, oh my God, what if I run out of ideas, or what if I don't have time? What if it takes me too long to edit it? When should I put the video out? What's the best time of day? And I was thinking about the video so much that it became this huge, big deal. And after about a week, I hated the video. Like, I didn't want to make them anymore because I turned it into such a big hassle. And actually what was going on was that I was unconsciously going through the process I'm going to share with you in this hangout from the book, which is just brilliant. When I first read it, it literally, I had to go and dance afterwards because so many light bulbs went off, and I realized, oh, that's why I was doing that. Because what happened with this habit was that, although I remember thinking, oh my God, this is just never going to get any easier, and this is becoming a real obligation. I don't enjoy this anymore. After 21 days, it got a lot easier. And after a month, I was actually starting to enjoy making the videos, and it was a lot quicker. More people were responding to them, and I was starting to enjoy like making them. I would look forward to making the video. And then after about 3 months, it had become a habit. I didn't even think about the video. I would just, an inspirational thought would pop in my head, and I'd think, oh, I'm going to make the video about this, or I'd get an idea, and boom, I'd make the video, I'd edit it, and I'd share it. And I started to look forward to people's comments, when I shared videos, or writing to me and thanking me for the videos, or people saying they were getting inspired by them. Like, I started to look forward to that. And that whole process is basically what I'm going to show you in a visual form on some slides that I have here, because I know when you see this, it's going to help you understand how you can use it, because when you're consciously aware of it, it's a lot easier to make habits. Like that was probably the first time I had ever consciously formed a habit. And since like realizing how that happened, I now read every day. I floss every day. I never used to floss on a regular basis. I meditate every day. I do stretches, just 15 minutes. I do a hangout most days. But I've managed to develop all kinds of habits that support where I'm going because I became aware of this information. So, Lisa-Lotta, is there anything you want to add at this stage?
About habits, well, yeah, as I told you, I have a lot of bad ones, but I know when you change it, when you start to get a habit,
yeah,
you feel so much good about yourself. Like you said now, when you start small things.
yeah.
And the other thing I know is when you break it, when you change your life or something, and it's really hard to come back to the habits if you have break them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm going to share actually why that is. It's really
thank you.
Yeah. Because I just find it really interesting because, we have thousands of habits, so we might as well have them work in our favor, because when we don't, it's like you're walking in one direction, but your daily, the things you do every day are pulling you back in another direction. So I'm just going to, and the thing I found that's powerful about habits is you can go to a workshop and, or a seminar or something and learn about what you should be doing. But it's like Aristotle said, our habits are what make us, we are what we do repeatedly. So the thing I love about habits is that it's something you do every single day, so you start to change from the inside in a really lasting way. So let me just get my slides here to show you, if I can find them. Oh, here, yeah, okay. Right. Oh. Here we go. So I was just about to ask you about cinnamon buns when we cut out earlier. So basically, here we go. So the power of habit. So you can use habits to change your life and change the world. And the reason that we even have habits is because of chunking, which is not a strange new chocolate bar. It's actually the way that our brain stores information. If you had to start everything that you do in your day from scratch, your brain would literally be working crazily hard, because anytime that we do something new, they've actually done scientific experiments and put little machines in the brains of rats to test this. And they've shown that when you do something new for the first time, your brain activity, it goes from about, being like kind of up and down to going like this. It goes really crazy because you're having to take in all the different senses, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're thinking, like all this different stuff is going on, and you're linking it to a specific action, and your brain is working very hard that time. It's like you move to a new city, you don't have a clue where you're going, and everything is hard work, Think about what it's like when you go when you're on holiday or vacation, and you're trying to find something in a new city. It can get frustrating because you're used to in your hometown just being able to walk out, turn right, turn up the road, turn left, and then there's the shop you need. But when you don't know the city, you don't know that. So you have to go and get that information. And this is exactly what happens in our brains. So to stop us having to do that all day long, our brains do this chunking thing where they remember a sequence of events, a sequence of actions, and they create a routine. So it could be brushing your teeth or reverse parking. And actually, just to help you get this, guys, I've put this little picture here, which is the place in the brain that does this. It's called the basal ganglia, sexy name, and it stores all those habits for us. So you don't really need to know, I just thought it's quite interesting to know where that's going on in the brain, because I'm a bit of a geek. I hope you are too. Otherwise, you might be like, well, I don't need to see that picture. But anyway, so what happens is that we actually have, habits are actually very simple to understand. There's 3 parts to them. There's the cue, and you're going to, in a second, I'm going to explain why it's useful to know these parts, because then you can look out for them. So a habit starts with a cue, something that triggers it. It could be a telephone ringing, and you have to go and answer it, so you get up and you look for the phone. Or it could be you've had a meal and your breath feels slightly not fresh, and your teeth feel a bit like, you can feel the food, and you want to brush your teeth to get rid of that feeling. That's a cue. The next part is the routine, and that can be physical, emotional, or mental. So it's the part where you do something about the trigger. You go and brush your teeth, you get your toothpaste, you put it on the toothbrush, you put water, and then you start, chomping away. Or it could be you found the phone, so you make a phone call. And then there's the reward, the final part. So with the phone call example, because you've picked up the phone stops ringing and that loud noise has gone away. Or with brushing your teeth, because you put a toothbrush in your mouth, you started brushing, now you feel like you have a nice clean mouth, and you can go and kiss someone. You can go, hi, and you won't feel like you need to go like this. Yeah, right, because you brushed your teeth. So actually, I'll just quickly share this little picture. It's quite funny. This is a rat. I didn't make this picture, by the way. It's actually from the book that I'm talking about. And this is the cue, and here is the reward. So how do we know all of this? Well, very long story short, some scientists decided to test how the brains of rats work when they're making a habit. So they put little machines in their brains, and they put them in a big maze in a laboratory, and they put chocolate at one end of the maze, and at the other end, a clicking machine. So the rats would be let out into the maze, and the click noise would happen, and then the rats would smell the chocolate, and they would go, their instinct was to go get the food. So they would start scurrying around to get the food. So what happened here, this is a great example of a habit loop, was because they did this repeatedly over several weeks. And after about a week, the rats didn't have to work as hard to find where the chocolate was. They started to remember the way to get there through the maze. Their habit had started to form. And so what they noticed, the scientists doing this, was that the brains of the rats stopped, like I was saying before, their brains started to calm down. Instead of going as they were like working out, where can we get the chocolate? Where do we have to go? They knew that now, so now the brain is going like this. And that's what happens to all of us with creating a habit. And it doesn't stop there, because then what happens is that this process is going on all the time with everything new that you do. And your brain does not have a filtration system to say, this is a good habit or this is a bad habit. If you develop the habit of coming home from work, sitting on the sofa and eating a box of donuts, your brain's not going to say, hang on, this is not necessarily a good habit to form. Your guilty conscience might, your body might tell you something, but your brain will still form that habit. It will get used to the cue being getting home and sitting on the sofa. the routine will be like looking for the box of donuts, and then the reward is eating the donuts and feeling good afterwards because you've eaten the donuts. You know, that's just like one example. But our brains will store good habits and they'll store bad habits. So it's just waiting for the different cues, the different trigger points. But the thing is, the next part to get about this, and there's actually not much more because it's not that complicated, but surprisingly few people really understand how this all works. So next, so then what happens is once you've got this habit loop, and remember that your brain doesn't differentiate between good and bad habits, what happens next is that there's another element that it took scientists ages to work this out. So Lisa-Lotta, do you know what these things are, these buns?
These buns?
Yeah. Have you seen them before?
Yeah, I have. Yes.
Do you know what they're called?
Is it cinnamon buns?
Exactly.
It is.
Yeah, that's it. They're cinnamon buns.
It's a little bit different here in my country, but
okay.
Yes. But it's a huge thing in Sweden with cinnamon buns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to. And they're huge in America as well.
Yeah.
So what actually happens is that I just wanted to give you this as an example, which was that when scientific researchers, they discovered something interesting about these cinnamon buns, because in America, in shopping malls, normally all the food people congregate together in a food hall or a food court. But the cinnamon bun company, it's called Cinnabon, they don't do that. They put their cinnamon shop away from the other food places, and they do that deliberately. So can you, just have a think now, can you guess why? Well, basically, the reason for that is that they know that the smell of the cinnamon will be stronger if they're not next to a Chinese restaurant or next to a pizza place. You know, that if they're just next to other shops that don't really smell, people will get the smell of the cinnamon. And this will create a craving. Okay.
Actually, can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Here in Sweden, people who are going to sell their house or have people come and look at the apartment or the house, usually bake or warm cinnamon buns before. It's much better.
So funny
when
because they know
the smell.
Yeah. So that way the people are like, this is a good place. I like this place.
Yeah.
They have good cinnamon here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great example.
It feels like home. It feels like my mother is here and I bake cinnamon buns or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly a great example. And so what happens is, the reason that's powerful is that let's go back to the example in the shopping mall. If you're walking past a shop and you suddenly get this beautiful smell of cinnamon, then you can just imagine the cinnamon buns, and you've eaten them before, but you can smell that sugar and it smells so good, and you start thinking about the food. You start craving the reward of the habit loop. And the reward of this habit loop would be the eating of the buns, right? So the cue, to come back to our earlier slide, the cue is in this case, is the smell. It's the smell of the buns as you walk into that part of the shopping mall. Then the routine is to get your wallet out and to walk over and eat one. And the reward, or to buy one rather, and the reward is actually that moment when you bite into a nice, beautiful cake, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna have this cake now. That's the reward. So what happens is that we start craving the rewards, and this is actually what makes habits hard to change when you don't know this information. Because what they found was that when you don't understand why you're craving something, it's harder to actually do anything about it. You know, otherwise you're a bit like the rat in the maze. You know, you smell that smell, and you have this routine of going and buying a cinnamon bun so that you can have the reward of eating that bun. So when you understand that you're craving the reward, you can start to give yourself new rewards for things. So, oh, hang on, let me just show you what I mean. So let me give you another example to just make this clearer. Let's say that you do some kind of physical activity, like this is a Zumba class. So you go to a Zumba class, you dance, you get sweaty. You can actually see in this picture, you know, like there's sweat there on that lady's forehead. And so you get sweaty, and afterwards you want to do something because you've just had a routine. Your routine is to go and work out. And when you understand that you can create a habit by having a reward, you can actually create a habit of daily exercise or daily movement by giving yourself a reward. So obviously you want to be careful what kind of reward you give yourself, because I actually know some people that I used to teach Zumba, and people would come to my classes and then they'd go home and eat like Mars bars or like have a huge meal because they felt like they'd earned it by having a workout. But what happens with that is that you're creating a habit of eating perhaps not exactly what your body wants because you've done something else. You know, does that make sense? You've done a workout, so now you feel like you can have a reward. But what's more powerful is you can create a reward like a smoothie. And again, this is just one example. You could have, you know, what if after doing a workout, you went and bought a beautiful smoothie, or you bought one beforehand so that you could have it after the class, or you could make one. You know, you have beautiful fruits, so that then, if you start doing that consciously, you'll create the habit of looking forward to that moment after your workout. You know, you could do this with something else. It could be like giving yourself a little massage. I used to do this myself, actually. I bought this beautiful essential oil, and I used to like massage my feet and my legs after I showered, after a class, and I loved doing that. So I began like looking forward to that, and that created the habit of actually, you know, giving myself that massage because it felt so good afterwards. Are you still there, Liselotte?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, cool. Okay. I just because I'm asking that for you guys watching this because that's my dog. Because earlier on I was chatting away and then suddenly I realized that I had disappeared because the connection had gone. Yeah. So what happens is that you can actually change your habits by changing the reward that you give yourself and noticing what cues you have. You know, like let's take an example here. If you smoke and you don't want to smoke anymore, you can notice what triggers that need to smoke. Like people in the book, they talk about having a journal, like a habit journal for any particular habit that you want to kick. A side point I would add that's not in the book, but I would change only one habit at a time because it's a lot easier. I used to try and like change 8 different things in one go, and doing it one by one is so much more effective, I found, because I focus on one habit every month that I want to change. You know, like it could be reading every day or meditating, flossing your teeth, you know. It could be anything, but you know, you start to replace the bad habits with good habits. And so notice first of all what makes the habits, like what makes the habit loop start, you know, like this loop here. You know, the cue for starting a new exercise routine or a new movement routine would be you get your shoes out, the routine is you go running, and the reward is the smoothie you have afterwards. You know, you might notice that if you're not running and you get home and you feel like you just want to sit on the sofa and eat food, then that the cue is that desire to just sit on the sofa. So what you can do is, you know, keep a journal and become aware of that, and then do something different afterwards. You know, and the thing to understand is that in the beginning, it's not that easy. It's not like you just sort of spring up from the sofa and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go and do a workout instead of eating those donuts. Yeah. You know, the thing is, the first probably, I'd say 7 days, it isn't that easy, to be honest. And there's no way to like, um, to to make it prettier, unless you just have a moment where you're just like, this is changing now, and I'm never smoking again, which is actually what happened to me with smoking. I used to smoke for 10 years, and I stopped overnight because I just got disgusted with myself one day and thought, why am I doing this? I'm poisoning my body, and I never smoked since. And that was 7 years ago. But sometimes, you know, that doesn't. I found that doesn't always happen. Oh, you know, you can't always just manufacture that. Usually there has to be some other events going on, like a build-up of stuff, or you just get to a point where you can't put up with something anymore. But what I'm suggesting here with you and sharing with you is a slightly easier way to do it. You know, you don't have to wait till things get really bad to do that. You can notice, okay, when do I feel like just eating and vegging out and eating all those donuts? Okay, when I get home and I sit on the sofa, well, what if I went straight to the gym after work? Or what if I went, took my shoes with me to work and then ran home, jogged home, you know? Or you find a different, you change up the loop, not the hoop, so that then your brain is like storing a new sequence of actions. And it's really powerful, because when you start, like I noticed with the flossing teeth example, you know, I used to hate flossing my teeth. It felt like a boring thing to do, and I would sometimes do it, but not very often. And once I had this experience of making the videos that I shared at the start, and I started to read about habits, and I understood that process that I went through, where I changed the rewards that I gave myself. You know, I started to crave the reward of that moment when I'd click publish on YouTube, and I would share it on Facebook with my friends. I loved seeing people's reactions, you know, even if they didn't like it. It's like I started to look forward to that. So I started to crave the reward, you know, like the reward for me with the videos was seeing what kind of response that the video would get and seeing the finished product, you know, like that creative energy. So once I became aware of that, like the flossing, to go back to that example, for 1 month I was like, okay, this is really silly, but I'm actually going to make flossing my habit because I know this is good for my teeth. And I'd met someone who was like, it's so disgusting when you don't floss because there's so much food that stays in your mouth, and she showed me all this information. I was like, oh, okay, I have to change this. So I decided to give myself the reward of like noticing how clean my teeth felt afterwards, and like and I also was aware that it wouldn't be easy in the beginning, but I just made myself go through that. You know, I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to do it anyway, even if I don't want to. And after a week, it was easier. After 3 weeks, it was automatic. And after a month, I actually enjoy flossing now. This is so geeky. You know, like if I actually floss now twice a day very often, because if I have something to eat and I brush my teeth, I can still feel food in my mouth. I'm really aware of it now, and I just go and floss and get rid of it. And this might be, you know, you might be like, this is way too much information about your dental hygiene, Sandy. But hopefully you're getting something out of this, because, you know, I'm just giving you a really simple example. I've also used this to become way more consistent in my business, to grow a business that is just flourishing every single month, that I'm having a new breakthrough with it. And I know that's because I've developed a lot of habits to support what I'm doing, so that my you know, the automatic stuff that's going on is supporting me. And it doesn't mean that you go through your day sleepwalking, unconscious of what you're doing. It's actually the opposite of that. You become more consciously aware, and you start, you know, I found it's easier to change your behavior when you know this. I mean, that's why I wanted to make this the topic of a whole hangout. You know, anything that makes your behavior easier to change is a good thing in my view. Because sometimes you can know you should, you can see what it will do for you, but the actual pragmatic, every single day, how do you make that happen, hasn't always been that easy for me personally. And this is the best thing I've found so far to help make those things happen. And there's actually an example in the book, and then I'm going to pass it over to you, Liselotte, because I'd love to hear your story of how you stopped smoking. Actually, that's a really popular habit people have.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'd love to hear that now. Like, would you like to just share how you stopped? Mm.
Yeah, actually, I think I had been smoking for over 20 years when I decided that I wanted to stop, and it was because of a book that was very popular at the time. It was new then. It was Louise Hayes. You have heard of her, the author?
Yeah.
And yeah, and she, yeah, I was reading the book, and I decided to stop smoking by reading the book, and it was just to change your behavior, change your habits, and no longer connect to those habits to having a cigarette and smoke, and it worked really well with me. I stopped at once.
Ah.
It was a hell the first week, but when it just went so smoothly. But I changed my mindset there, actually. It was not just the habit to stop smoking. It was, I don't going to be attached to this behavior anymore. I'm going to change the behavior and the need of smoking. Not just stop smoking, because I want to get rid of the need of smoking. There it is. And there was a lot of affirmations that I used with it every day. So that became a habit to use the affirmations in her book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you actually replaced the routine. You changed the routine that you had in your day.
I changed the
You added a new habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That actually started to replace the older one.
Yeah. And you see how much you have start to behave according to cigarettes. When I talk in the phone, I'm going to smoke. When I do this, and when I have a cup of coffee, a cigarette. That is small habits in all. Yeah.
And when you realized that, what did you do instead? Like, did you just make the phone call without the cigarette, or did you do something else? Was it that pure awareness that helped you stop?
Or just pure awareness that, okay, I'm in the phone and I'm not going to smoke because I'm going to get rid of the need of smoking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. And after 20 years, so how long did it take you to stop altogether?
So how long? I stopped directly. I didn't. I throw away the cigarettes and didn't go back. And I actually, because I changed it so deeply, so I didn't bother when other people were smoking around me or something like that, or get, oh, it smells so good or something like that. It was just, okay, I'm not a smoker anymore. I have been, but I'm not.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's so cool. And also that links in really nicely to the last point I wanted to make here, which was about belief, because this is something else that he talks about in the book. Is you have to believe that what you're doing will work. And I mean, this is so applicable to anything, obviously. But there's a beautiful example in the book, actually, of an NFL, American football coach who was, his name's Tony Dungy, and basically he had studied matches of American footballers, and he found that a lot of the way they play is based on habits. You know, they have a team moving all forwards at once. So they have the habit of, like, I've got to run to that point to get to like defend the. Oh, I'm talking about soccer more here, but you know, like a lot of what they do is based on habits of what they've done before. So he was like, okay, well, why don't I train them to have the best possible habits, so that and to have like habits that really work every single time. And so, because he also noticed that when it got to like high pressure games, people often made crazy decisions. Like the habits seemed to stop working. So he was like, I'm going to like really work with them on this habit stuff, show them what habits to develop, you know, so that even when they're under pressure, they know what to do. And the first team that he wanted to do this with, they thought he was crazy. They literally like fired him. So he ended up going to another team, and they were interested in this. So they let him do his method with the team at the time. This was back in like the 80s, late 80s or 90s. And so he started doing it, and it started to work. Like the team started to play better. Their results began improving. They were less prone to making scattered decisions, and their results, that they started to move up in the league. And they actually got to the stage before when you get into Super Bowl, which is like the top, you know, that's what everyone wants to get into, like the final, the Super Bowl. So, but then what happened was that in 2 different seasons, like this happened more than once, they'd get to that crucial match and everything would fall apart. They'd stop using his system, and they wouldn't use the habits, and they'd go back to their old ways of just like looking around and like making a snap decision, and they lost the match and they didn't get into the Super Bowl. And this happened twice, and the third time, like after the second time, he was fired from that club. So so then he went off to a new team and basically trained them. Same thing happened. They got to the Super Bowl, the match before, but just when they needed to like keep going with the system, they fell apart. They stopped using it. And at this point, he was like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" And at that moment, his son committed suicide. Like his 19-year-old son. This has nothing to do with the football team, but his son. He got a phone call from his hometown, and they found out that their son, him and his wife, their son had killed himself. He was 19 years old, and he obviously like stopped coaching them. Like they got a replacement. He went home, buried his son, and when he came back to the football team, everyone, all the players came up to him and hugged him one by one. And that's quite, you know, apparently this is like quite rare. You know, American football players are pretty like macho, you know, they're quite guys and guys. So, but one player did it, and it like triggered all the others. So they all started to come and hug the coach. And this another player said that it was like this energy spread through the team where they wanted to support him because he'd been through this horrible trauma of seeing his son die, and they started to play differently, and they started like really listening to what he trained them on, the habits, and they got to the same stage again, and this time they got through. They got to the Super Bowl, and then they won the Super Bowl because they were like doing it for the team and doing it for their coach. And they just decided to trust him and trust that his system worked. And so in the book, they share that example as an example of why, if you don't believe that what you're doing with changing your habits will work, it won't work. You know, like we're so powerful that we can stop things working, even if theoretically they actually could. So, oh, I think it just froze. Lisa Lotte, are you there? I think so. I'm going to keep going. So that was like the last piece of how to really effectively understand how habits work. That if you want to be able to change them, you need to also have the belief that you can. You know, and I know this is quite obvious, but it's an interesting thing because a lot of people don't really think they can, and I didn't really believe I could until I had this experience of making the videos and realizing, wow, I do have it in me, and then being able to apply that out to like 8 or 9 habits since then. So when you know that you can, then you will. So just to recap, our brains, and at least Lotte, you're frozen, so I think her connection might be slow. I hope it's not mine, that people can still see. Let me know, guys, in the comments if you can't. But basically, if there are habits that if your life doesn't going exactly how you'd like it to your business, have a look at what habits you could develop to support what you do. You know, like an athlete will have the habits of physically training their body, of eating certain foods, of visualizing them winning their races. And they'll have the habit of training every day. You know, what habits could you develop that would support you with where you want to go? Whatever it is, wherever you want to go, you know, you can apply this to anything. That's the beauty of it. What would you like to be doing, and what habits will help you get there? You know, like I realized for myself, I have a huge target to use the internet to really become a powerful woman on the internet, and to have a big tribe, a team of people around me, of change makers that have the time and the money to contribute to things. So I realized, okay, I have to have a strong mindset to be able to do that. I have to have energy. Hi, Lisa Lotta, you're back. Yay. We lost you for a while there. You know, I realized, okay, I can develop certain habits to do that. And I set about like consciously choosing a habit a month so that I could build up, you know, like it's almost like you add a string to your bow as a violinist or something. So what habits could you develop that would help you to go where you would like to go? And you don't have to like sit there and work it all out. You can ask yourself that question and ask the universe to help you. And you'll start, you know, weird information will come to you, or you might just get funny ideas, or you have a conversation with someone and it will give you an idea of a new habit that you can form. And just doing one a month, you'll get that sense that you're moving forwards, because that's all it takes. Is like, people think it will take years and years. It takes less than that. It just takes a month. So if you just choose, okay, for this month, I'm going to focus on waking up early, or I don't know, you know, meditating 5 minutes in the day, or I'm going to read every day. You know, you'll start to build up this. You'll be like this beautiful, sleek Ferrari that has a really finely tuned engine, instead of like being in a bus that kind of keeps breaking down, or like doesn't go very fast up the hill. You know, it's you start to become more finely tuned in a lasting way. Go on.
Can we start with me then? Then I make it official.
Yeah, you can publicly proclaim your habits, Lisa Lotta. Go for it.
Wake up early every morning and go a 4.5 hour walk.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
So now what have I done? I have gone out.
I love it.
Yeah. So I'm going to make to prove it. I'm going to make a video while I'm doing it tomorrow.
Yay! Cool. I love it. Yeah. And the cool thing with that is that will like get your day off with a certain energy, and it will also give you the physical movement. So and something interesting as well, Lisa Lotta, is that I used to think it was bad to have habits, because I felt like that was making every day boring. You know, like always the same. But the thing with this is, what I'm suggesting is, we don't have to like be like robots and do exactly the same thing every day. But what you find is that over time, when you're consciously choosing your habits, you start to have habits that you like, you know, that make you feel good, that make your body feel good, that make you feel inspired, and they become like a fun part of your day. And obviously, you know, if there's a day that you can't go for a walk, you just really don't feel like it, then that's fine. But in the first 30 days, I really like recommend just making a conscious choice to make that habit happen. And understanding that it can be hard in the beginning, but it gets a lot easier. And then once you've got the habit formed, it makes your life a lot easier, because you're not having to like mentally fight yourself all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I have had those habits where I have been up in the morning, walking, do yoga, meditate, and did it for a long period of time, and I felt so good, and my body was really happy with it. And then something happened, and I lost it, and I have been trying to get back, and I get back and get back, but now it's just do it.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Because you know the reward when you do it, as you were talking about before.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what that's what often trips us up, is that we feel like, oh, this is so boring and I don't want to do this, and that's how I felt with making the videos. I remember being like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, I told everyone I was going to make these videos for a month and I don't even want to make them. It's been a week. But making that habit has transformed my life, you know, and it's given me skills that a lot of people, it's going to take them 5 years to get as good at making videos, because I just made so many in a single year. You know, that habit has added to my life in so many ways. So even though the first month was hard, now I can look back and I'm actually really proud of myself for like making it happen. So that's the cool thing, that you know, you don't need to make really boring habits. It can be habits that just really make your day better.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, that's all I have for the habit stuff. Um, is there anything else that you want to add, Lisa Lotta, before we finish up?
No, no, not right now. I'm just thinking of my walking now. Wow, I'm going to feel so much better, and
Yeah.
also this, that I know when I do it, I'm going to have much more done during the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what would be then the cue for your habit? What's going to be the cue for your habit, Lisa Lotta? Like, the thing that will make you realize you're going to do it? Like waking up, I guess.
Yeah, I think no, wake up, and when I wake up, stand up from the bed and go up, really go up.
Ah,
Don't,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that can be then the routine is going for the walk. And what reward would can you give yourself afterwards? Like, can you? It doesn't have to be a food thing, or like it could be um like, what's something fun that you could do right away afterwards? Or actually, I don't think you even need to do that, because I think you'll get the endorphins from going for that walk.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I have to have something to trigger me to
Yeah.
think of. No, I think just be out there and do it and make it
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah, that is really fun. For me, it's so fun to make these videos.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. That's
That
exactly
is
the
the reward.
Oh, cool.
Daily walk and thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. With the background, and because you're walking, the video will be more hypnotic. So that's a great idea.
One, I mean, or else it's going to be boring to see it every day. But yeah, just a very short one too.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, something that anyone is welcome to join. You know, from you guys watching this, I have a Facebook group for a daily hangout on Think and Grow Rich, a book by Napoleon Hill. And in that group, every Friday, I post a little note, and I just ask people who are taking part, how's your habit going? Because we pick a habit each month, and we publicly proclaim it in this Facebook group. And then on Fridays, we just like check in and share how it's going, whether it's going well or not. Because I actually had the second habit I did since we started doing this, after I read this book actually, I failed with it completely. It was like to wake up early and go to bed early. Like, I completely failed at that. So,
Yeah.
but that was like there was kind of external circumstances out of my control. I had to do all my work at night. So, but we support each other, and that's helped. A lot of people actually have been saying that that's helped them like stay more targeted, because you know you've publicly said you'll do something. So well done to you, Lisa Lotta, for doing that by sharing yours on this hangout. So yeah, so thank you for being here, and to everyone watching. If you'd like to get involved with what we do, which is working on the internet, and you know, the habits that I was sharing have helped me to be able to travel with my dog and my laptop and work from wherever I am. I'm actually here in Toulouse right now in southwest France, about to move to Portugal. Like, I was living near Italy, now coming through the Spanish border. And part of what's helped me do that is the fact that I made a video every day for a year, started blogging, started learning how to do internet marketing. So if that's something that you can benefit from, then contact either whoever sent you here, and you can get more information about that, because we do these hangouts as part of the team to share things that can help us with what we do and to become the change that we wish to see in the world. Because the more of us that are doing that, the more the change starts to happen. Because sometimes people think this changing the world has to be like this big revolution that suddenly comes out of nowhere and like barricades castles and like locks up governments. But actually, a quiet revolution is people all over the globe taking control of their lives and what they do and how they are in the world, and having a clear vision of what they'd like the world to be like. So when you start to step into that, it's so powerful, because you'll inspire people everywhere, like, especially because you're on the internet, it's a lot easier to find you. So thank you for watching. I know you'd have got something out of this if you listened. If you didn't understand anything, then send me a message, and I'll put the slides on the blog, and I'll share it so that Lisa, you can put it on your blog too, and everyone else who's sharing this, so you can get the slides as well if you want them. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And have a great evening, everyone. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.